What's up, everyone? Welcome to Crypto Capital Venture. I hope you're having a good start to your week. It's probably going to be a crazy one. This is Bitcoin dominance on the monthly. We have Ethereum zoomed out on the weekly, as well as some zoomed in roadmap for crypto this week, and the total crypto market cap excluding Bitcoin. Something very nice playing out on this chart and what to anticipate in the coming months, maybe even the next 12 months. Hit the subscribe. Hit that like on the way in. If you haven't checked out the Crypto Capital Venture Intelligence System, please click the link in the pinned comment. We have some next level cool things happening there. So I want to start the video real briefly. This is a mental thing. One thing I learned over the years in terms of crypto is we start dissecting all of the data on all of these charts. The entire thing is a mental game. And a very good example is this. This is a post from just over a month ago, early April. Markets capitulating all of the tariff fear. China will put a 34% tariff on all U.S. imports. Everybody's freaking out. And just note where we are just over a month later. President Trump says the U.S. has achieved a total trade reset with China this weekend. We fell into a record-breaking high fear event because of the headlines from around a month ago. And just like that, it's all starting to kind of work itself out. And now this will start, watch how this starts playing into the very short-term emotion of it all. I see a lot of people get hype on a 5% pump, and then we start dipping 3%, 4%, 5%, and it's like the bear market all over again. Here's what I mean by this. This was this morning, not even an hour ago, this post. President Trump says China tariffs will go up without a deal. So we have literally an hour ago, total trade reset bullish, and then within the same hour, basically, President Trump says China tariffs will go up without a deal. And this one, President Trump says he will add on to tariffs on countries who don't follow his drug policy. So like a little negative shift here, all within an hour. And markets actually on the short term, and this is Ethereum on the daily, all of a sudden you see that nice wick to the upside. Markets were looking good, and then all of a sudden Ethereum, for instance, on the short term actually starting to fall. This is a very short-term game. We cannot get wrapped up in these things. At least for me, I'm a macro-minded investor, especially for this crypto cycle. And when we start evaluating the data points now on the monthly and weekly charts and the zoomed out, it is a very good idea to not get wrapped up in these headlines. We see how quick these things change. So let's do it. Let's jump into Bitcoin dominance on the monthly. This is massive. Look at this monthly candle. Again, there are 19 days left of this monthly candle. I do not know how it will play out. One thing I do know, though, the top of Bitcoin dominance at the very beginning of the crypto bull market last cycle was very similar. These massive monthly candles, obviously, but you can just see green followed by red. That was the top at the Fibonacci lower high resistance area. So we've been tracking a very similar lower high resistance area. Bitcoin dominance, as you know, has tested the upper end of it, but here we are. Green powerful candle followed by a red powerful candle thus far. How will it close? And that's something I will be obviously watching over the coming weeks, 19 days. But if you go to the the monthly oscillator, the stock RSI, we kind of hinted on this in a previous video. Just look at the falling momentum from the momentum oscillator perspective comparative to this time last cycle. So I'm not trying to throw too much hopium out there for the bulls, altcoin bulls, I should say. But the way that these charts are playing out could be a very good sign for altcoin bull market. I want to point something out also on the weekly chart. As far as the RSI goes, the momentum oscillator on the RSI, you can see it starting to fall. There is so much downside for Bitcoin dominance if it's going to actually start really falling. And the best illustration of that is really the move we just looked at on the monthly, looking at on the weekly chart, right? So there's that Fibonacci retracement resistance, and you can just see lower high on the RSI. But right here, just entering into the 50s on the RSI, that was literally the beginning of Bitcoin dominance falling and just a multi-month bull run for altcoins. This is right now just beginning. We have to evaluate things on the weekly like support of Bitcoin dominance above the 20-week, the 50-week, because listen, there's no guarantee that this Fibonacci, upper end of the Fibonacci resistance holds for Bitcoin dominance. And if crypto is just going to consolidate again or something, or there's going to be more tariff fear or something, there's a very strong possibility Bitcoin dominance, even in the coming weeks, makes another swing high outside of the Fibonacci retracement. You all know that I think altcoin bull market is coming, but I will not sit here and say, boom, it's confirmed. It's just a done deal. Altcoin season is starting right now. I want to really monitor what Bitcoin dominance does between that upper end resistance as well as these moving average areas. Bitcoin dominance starts falling below these areas. Now we're talking. Now we are talking. So let's pivot over to Ethereum. I want to look at Ethereum on the monthly, and then we're really going to zoom in on the shorter term price action of Ethereum to get a sense of the volatility that's actually happening right now and what to watch for if that continues this week. So I know many of you, like myself, don't hold Ethereum. And I hope you can forgive me for continuing to cover the Ethereum charts. But for me, this is such a big chart and a big indicator for altcoins. And I saw from a little bit of a different perspective, a piece of the monthly that I wanted to share with you. You all know what we've been tracking in terms of, you know what? People were saying the bear market's starting here. I was saying, I don't think so, because this is the bear market starting back here on the monthly chart on Ethereum. And what we had very significantly is this red line. QT, quantitative tightening, was beginning. Fed monetary policy was going into a very bearish phase for risk on assets. Right now, we have the opposite happening. While we have catalysts like tariff deals coming to fruition, right? We have the global money supply just increasing. But we have QT unwinding. That's the era that we're entering now. It's not a bear market era, in my opinion. But more meaningfully so on this monthly chart, what I wanted to point out to you was a little bit of a different perspective. The stock RSI, this quicker moving momentum oscillator on Ethereum. Look at how oversold it got. This is such a big signal. And we're going to zoom in on Ethereum charts to kind of get some short-term price action guidance for altcoins and crypto this week. But just look at how oversold this chart got. And every time Ethereum has gotten to this level on the stock RSI, it has marked a bottom. And then we start evaluating, things like the moving averages on this monthly chart. Ethereum is currently just testing the 50-month moving average and the 20-month moving average. Ethereum in a bullish state is going to get and be way overextended from these moving average areas. The time to call for a bear market starting really isn't for Ethereum falling below these two key moving averages on the monthly while they're just very close together, calling for a bear market here. The time to call for the start of a bear market is after it's actually overextended somewhat, right? And maybe starting to retrace. Perfect example is back here in the last bull market high, and then 2 cycles ago on this bull market high. Look at all that overextension from the 20-month moving average each time. That's the time to start talking about a bear market. But when we're under these areas, and we just saw a record-breaking high fear event with all of these monetary policy Fed pivots in play, now's the time to very much be on the lookout for macro bulls stepping in for macro momentum. So we've been tracking this symmetrical triangle pullback. Well, now we've gotten the pullback. It has happened. We've waited quite some time and through some crazy volatility for this pullback to happen to the triangle itself. Well, check out Ethereum right now in the short term. We have short-term resistance. And what I want to do is I want to look at what was happening back here when Ethereum was breaking out into that November move and what's happening right now. I want to actually go to one of the Crypto Capital Venture Intelligence Systems indicators or features, and that is the bull bear arena. And I want to look at Ethereum for a moment, because what this is saying is, and this is based on momentum oscillators and shorter term momentum of Ethereum, I want to just focus on the fact that this is saying the bulls are in full control now when it comes to Ethereum. Now, I'm backed up like a year here, and you can just see we have Ethereum truly putting in a momentum reversal on the short term. You see this massive move of the bulls right here. It's very similar to the move that we had back here in November. And we're going to look at what that looks like on the price chart. But real quick, if I put this on like 6 year or even just max, I want to just point out to you the move that is starting to play out from a momentum perspective all the way right here, that green uptick, that green momentum shift is starting to look very similar to kind of these green powerful moves pre-bull market. And you can even go back here to 2017, just a flippening, right? So Ethereum momentum to the downside, and then boom, all of a sudden, a flippening. The bulls starting to maintain control. We're starting to potentially get something very similar on the charts right now. And what becomes interesting about this from a technical analysis perspective, if we want to take this data point, which is the bull bear arena, momentum type of data, and we actually put it on the chart, now we get really good insight into what this week even could look like for Ethereum. And here's what I mean by that. So very similar in the bull bear arena move back here, Ethereum breaking out. Notice what it was doing, breaking above the 200-day moving average and then retracing to the 200-day moving average. As we get a very similar move of the bull bear arena for Ethereum right now, momentum, Ethereum's not breaking above the 200, right? It's actually seeing resistance kind of just below the 200, a very confluent resistance area of 200-day moving average and the yellow line, like right around $2,600 to $2,700. We are just below it. It is no surprise at the lower end of the triangle, we're seeing this resistance. The reason I'm bringing this up is because, yes, we had this very powerful move on the bull bear arena back here in November, but look what happened. A little bit of a break to test key moving average areas. Now, here's where we are. We have a nice, powerful move. We could very much get a little bit of a break below the 200-day moving average resistance and somehow test key moving average areas, namely the 20-day, the 50-day, as they kind of make their move up towards Ethereum. We could get a short-term pullback. But what's important is what's happening between this area. We want to see Ethereum explode to the upside. This is such a bullish confirmation. And what's happening at these moving average areas for Ethereum. The 20-day moving average currently just around $2,000, just under $2,000, like $1,950, and the 50-day moving average around $1,800. So for the short term, I don't know how this week will play out, but this is one thing I'm watching, some type of consolidation, at the very least a little bit of break for Ethereum bulls as they contend with this massive multi-year trend line, this yellow trend line of the triangle. We're waiting to see if the bulls can break through. But right now, even on the short term, momentum is there. It's okay if there's going to be a break or even a little bit of a dip, but let's see if the bulls can maintain that control and start seeing a swing high into this triangle apex. Let's go over to total crypto market cap excluding Bitcoin. I know I mentioned it. This is kind of a very nice view of the next 12 months. What I mean by that is this. On this monthly chart, notice a couple things actually. We've not entered a bull market. That is my view. I think the data backs that up very strongly. If you look at previous bull markets on altcoins, look how overheated and just overbought they got. This is like 100 basically, just under 100 on the RSI, basically 100. Last cycle was around 93. We've not even really broken overbought territory at all, whether it's even really into the 70s. From a strong perspective, you can see resistance right around 70, 71, but we've not even gotten to the 70s, 80s, definitely not even close to the 90s. The upside is there is what I'm saying. Even on the MACD, this other momentum oscillator down here, just check out the histogram right now. I want to point out to you, there has been incredible consolidation. I mean, we can say that this cycle is just looking completely different for Bitcoin and altcoins. Look at the consolidation and the fake outs in terms of just the bull market starting. But even back here, we have just that high fear environment with the tariff stuff, little bit of red on the histogram there. You can see the MACD just completely resetting. And now we have a little bit of a green candle on this histogram. Now, there is so much upside for the bull market to begin for altcoins. And if you just go back and you look at, well, what's the beginning of the histogram going green back in the last bull market? We're looking at like June, July, August, September, October, November, going into that fall area. And if you go to the monthly chart, check this out. All of the upside as is now was completely July 2020, completely in play. Not to mention the moving averages completely consolidated together right there at the beginning of the powerful altcoin move. And that is something that is happening right now. Moving averages are just consolidated very close together, and altcoins right now, and the reason I have a note next 12 months, altcoins right now are primed for a breakout to all-time highs and beyond. And so this is what it looked like back last cycle. I mean, we can even take it just from November, where it was already a little overextended from the moving averages, and just look at really the next year, the next 12 months. Well, we are at the very beginning phases of that in terms of my opinion for these altcoin markets. It just takes a little bit of a breakout and it's game on. And to kind of circle the whole video together, Bitcoin dominance chart, what happens in the next 19 days, I think will be very telling to kind of show us whether or not this story is going to start playing out now or not. So these are my thoughts today as we kind of enter this new week. There's a lot of volatility. There's a lot of battle of the bulls and the bears. However, the momentum might be shifting to altcoin bulls. Let's continue to monitor it. I appreciate you watching. Hit the subscribe, hit the like. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.